UK Driving Theory Test Practice 5. Topic: Safety margins. Question 1 of 44. By how much can stopping distances increase in icy conditions? A. 10 times. B. 2 times. C. 5 times. D. 3 times. The correct answer is A. Tire grip is greatly reduced in icy conditions. For this reason, you need to allow up to 10 times the stopping distance you would allow on dry roads. Question 2 of 44. In windy conditions, which activity requires extra care? A. Using the brakes. B. Moving off on a hill. C. Passing pedal cyclists. D. Turning into a narrow road. The correct answer is C. Always give cyclists plenty of room when overtaking them. You need to give them even more room when it's windy. A sudden gust could easily blow them off course and into your path. Question 3 of 44. When approaching a right-hand bend, you should keep well to the left. Why is this? A. To improve your view of the road. B. To overcome the effect of the road slope. C. To let faster traffic from behind overtake. D. To be positioned safely if you skid. The correct answer is A. Doing this will give you an earlier view around the bend and enable you to see any hazards sooner. It also reduces the risk of collision with an oncoming vehicle that may have drifted over the center line while taking the bend. Question 4 of 44. You've just gone through deep water. What should you do to make sure your brakes are working properly? A. Avoid using the brakes at all for a few miles. B. Accelerate and keep to a high speed for a short time. C. Go slowly while gently applying the brakes. D. Stop for at least an hour to allow them time to dry. The correct answer is C. Water on the brakes will act as a lubricant, causing them to work less efficiently. Using the brakes lightly as you go along will quickly dry them out. Question 5 of 44. In very hot weather the road surface can become soft. What will this affect? A. The tire grip. B. The suspension. C. The exhaust emissions. D. The fuel consumption. The correct answer is A. If the road surface becomes very hot, it can soften. Tires are unable to grip a soft surface as well as they can a firm dry one. Take care when cornering and braking. Question 6 of 44. Where are you most likely to be affected by side winds? A. On an open stretch of road. B. On a long, straight road. C. On a busy stretch of road. D. On a narrow country lane. The correct answer is A. In windy conditions, care must be taken on exposed roads. A strong gust of wind can blow you off course. Watch out for other road users who are particularly likely to be affected, such as cyclists, motorcyclists, high-sided lorries and vehicles towing trailers. Question 7 of 44. In good conditions, what's the typical stopping distance at 70 miles per hour? A. 73 meters, 240 feet. B. 53 meters, 175 feet. C. 60 meters, 197 feet. D. 96 meters, 315 feet. The correct answer is D. Note that this is the typical stopping distance. It will take at least this distance to think, brake and stop in good conditions. In poor conditions, it will take much longer. Question 8 of 44. What's the shortest overall stopping distance on a dry road at 60 miles per hour? A. 58 meters, 190 feet. B. 73 meters, 240 feet. C. 53 meters, 175 feet. D. 96 meters, 315 feet. The correct answer is B. This distance is the equivalent of 18 car lengths. Try pacing out 73 meters and then look back. It's probably further than you think. Question 9 of 44. You're following a vehicle at a safe distance on a wet road. Another driver overtakes you and pulls into the gap you've left. What should you do? A. Flash your headlights as a warning. B. Stay close to the other vehicle until it moves on. C. Try to overtake safely as soon as you can. D. Drop back to regain a safe distance. The correct answer is D. Wet weather will affect the time it takes for you to stop and can affect your control. Your speed should allow you to stop safely and in good time. If another vehicle pulls into the gap you've left, ease back until you've regained your stopping distance. Question 10 of 44. You're traveling at 50 miles per hour on a good dry road. What's your typical overall stopping distance? A. 53 meters 175 feet. B. 75 meters 245 feet. C. 96 meters 315 feet. D. 36 meters 118 feet. The correct answer is A. Even in good conditions, it will usually take you further than you think to stop. Don't just learn the figures, make sure you understand how far the distance is. Question 11 of 44. What should you do when overtaking a motorcyclist in strong winds? A. Pass very slowly. B. Pass wide. C. Pass immediately. D. Pass closely. The correct answer is B. In strong winds, riders of two-wheeled vehicles are particularly vulnerable. When you overtake them, allow plenty of room. Always check to the left as you pass. Question 12 of 44. In heavy motorway traffic, the vehicle behind you is following too closely. How can you lower the risk of a collision? A. Increase your distance from the vehicle in front. B. Switch on your hazard warning lights. C. Move onto the hard shoulder and stop. D. Brake sharply. The correct answer is A. On busy roads, traffic may still travel at high speeds despite being close together. Don't follow the vehicle in front too closely. If a driver behind seems to be pushing you, gradually increase your distance from the vehicle in front by slowing down gently. This will give you more space in front if you have to brake, and will reduce the risk of a collision involving several vehicles. Question 13 of 44. You're on a good dry road surface. Your brakes and tires are good. What's the typical overall stopping distance at 40 miles per hour? A. 36 meters 118 feet. B. 96 meters 315 feet. C. 53 meters 175 feet. D. 23 meters 75 feet. The correct answer is A. Stopping distances are affected by a number of variables. These include the type, model and condition of your vehicle, the road and weather conditions, and your reaction time. Look well ahead for hazards and leave enough space between you and the vehicle in front. This should allow you to pull up safely if you have to, without braking sharply. Question 14 of 44. You're following other vehicles in fog. You have your lights on. What else can you do to reduce the chances of being in a collision? A. Keep up with the faster vehicles. B. Keep close to the vehicle in front. C. Use your main beam instead of dipped headlights. D. Reduce your speed and increase the gap in front. The correct answer is D. When it's foggy, use dipped headlights. This will help you see and be seen by other road users. If visibility is seriously reduced, consider using front and rear fog lights if you have them. Keep to a sensible speed and don't follow the vehicle in front too closely. If the road is wet and slippery, you'll need to allow twice the normal stopping distance. Question 15 of 44. You're using a contraflow system. What should you do? A. Choose an appropriate lane in good time. B. Switch lanes at any time to make progress. C. Follow other motorists closely to avoid long queues. D. Increase speed to pass through quickly. The correct answer is A. In a contraflow system, you'll be traveling close to oncoming traffic and sometimes in narrow lanes. You should get into the correct lane in good time, obey any temporary speed limit signs and keep a safe separation distance from the vehicle ahead. Question 16 of 44. You're driving on an icy road. How can you avoid wheel spin? A. Use the handbrake if the wheels start to slip. B. Brake gently and repeatedly. C. Drive at a slow speed in as high a gear as possible. D. Drive in a low gear at all times. The correct answer is C. If you're traveling on an icy road, extra caution will be required to avoid loss of control. Keeping your speed down and using the highest gear possible will reduce the risk of the tires losing their grip on this slippery surface. Question 17 of 44. You're driving in freezing conditions. What should you do when approaching a sharp bend? A. Gently apply your handbrake. B. Firmly use your foot brake. C. Slow down before you reach the bend. D. Coast into the bend. The correct answer is C. Harsh use of the accelerator, brakes or steering is likely to lead to skidding, especially on slippery surfaces. Avoid steering and braking at the same time. In icy conditions, it's very important that you constantly assess what's ahead so that you can take appropriate action in plenty of time. Question 18 of 44. You're turning left on a slippery road. What should you do if the back of your vehicle slides to the right? A. Steer carefully to the left. B. Brake firmly and steer to the left. C. Brake firmly and don't turn the steering wheel. D. Steer carefully to the right. The correct answer is D. To correct a skid, you need to steer into it. However, be careful not to overcorrect with too much steering, as this may cause a skid in the opposite direction. Skids don't just happen, they're caused usually by the driver. Factors increasing the likelihood of a skid include the condition of the vehicle, especially its tires, and the road and weather conditions. Question 19 of 44. Overall stopping distance is made up of thinking distance and braking distance. You're on a good dry road surface with good brakes and tires. What's the typical braking distance from 50 miles per hour? A. 55 meters 180 feet. B. 24 meters 80 feet. C. 38 meters 125 feet. D. 14 meters 46 feet. The correct answer is C. Be aware that this is just the braking distance. You need to add the thinking distance to this to give the overall stopping distance. At 50 miles per hour, the typical thinking distance will be 15 meters 50 feet. Plus a braking distance of 38 meters 125 feet, giving an overall stopping distance of 53 meters 175 feet. The stopping distance could be greater than this, depending on your attention and response to any hazards. These figures are a general guide. Question 20 of 44. What should you clear of ice and snow before starting a journey in freezing weather? A. The windows. B. The boot. C. The bumper. D. The aerial. The correct answer is A. Driving in bad weather increases your risk of having a collision. If you absolutely have to travel, clear your lights, mirrors, number plates and windows of any snow or ice so that you can see and be seen. Question 21 of 44. What's the main cause of skidding? A. The road. B. The weather. C. The driver. D. The vehicle. The correct answer is C. Skidding is usually caused by driver error. You should always adjust your driving to take account of the road and weather conditions. Question 22 of 44. What will help when you're trying to move off on snow? A. Use a higher gear than normal. B. Use the handbrake and footbrake together. C. Use a high engine speed. D. Use the car's lowest gear. The correct answer is A. If you attempt to move off in a low gear. There will be more torque, turning force, at the driven wheels than if you use a higher gear. More torque makes it easier for the tires to lose grip and so spin the wheels. Question 23 of 44. What should you do when you're driving in snowy conditions? A. Brake firmly and quickly. B. Be ready to steer sharply. C. Use side lights only. D. Brake gently and plenty of time. The correct answer is D. In snowy conditions, be careful with the steering, accelerator and brakes. Braking sharply while you're driving on snow is likely to make your car skid. Question 24 of 44. What's the main benefit of driving a four-wheel drive vehicle? A. Improved grip on the road. B. Shorter stopping distances. C. Improved passenger comfort. D. Lower fuel consumption. The correct answer is A. By driving all four wheels, the vehicle has maximum grip on the road. This grip is especially helpful when traveling on slippery or uneven surfaces. However, having four-wheel drive doesn't replace the skills you need to drive safely. Question 25 of 44. You're about to go down a steep hill. What should you do to control the speed of your vehicle? A. Select a high gear and use the brakes firmly. B. Select a low gear and use the brakes carefully. C. Select a low gear and avoid using the brakes. D. Select a high gear and use the brakes carefully. The correct answer is B. When driving down a steep hill, gravity will cause your vehicle to speed up. This will make it more difficult for you to stop. To help keep your vehicle's speed under control, select a lower gear to give you more engine braking and make careful use of the brakes. Question 26 of 44. What should you do when parking your vehicle facing downhill? A. Turn the steering wheel away from the curb. B. Park close to the bumper of another car. C. Park with two wheels on the curb. D. Turn the steering wheel towards the curb. The correct answer is D. Turning the wheels towards the curb will allow them to act as a chock, preventing any forward movement of the vehicle. It will also help to leave your car in gear or select park if you have an automatic. Question 27 of 44. You're driving in a built-up area that has traffic calming measures. What should you do when you approach a road hump? A. Wait for any pedestrians to cross. B. Check your mirror and slow down. C. Move across to the left-hand side of the road. D. Stop and check both pavements. The correct answer is B. Many towns have road humps as part of traffic calming measures designed to slow down traffic. Reduce your speed when driving over them. If you go too fast, you could lose control or damage your car. Look out for pedestrians or cyclists while you're driving in these areas. Question 28 of 44. Anti-lock brakes reduce the chances of skidding. When is this particularly important? A. When you're driving on good road surfaces. B. When you're braking during normal driving. C. When you're braking in an emergency. D. When you're driving down steep hills. The correct answer is C. The anti-lock braking system, ABS, will operate when the brakes have been applied harshly and the wheels are about to lock, such as during an emergency. ABS will reduce the likelihood of your car skidding, but it isn't a substitute for safe and responsible driving. Question 29 of 44. On what type of road surface may anti-lock brakes not work effectively? A. Firm, B. Loose, C. Smooth, D. Dry. The correct answer is B. Poor contact with the road surface could cause one or more of the tires to lose grip on the road. This is more likely to happen when braking in poor weather conditions and when the road has a loose, slippery or uneven surface. Question 30 of 44. When are anti-lock brakes of most use to you? A. When you're braking on a motorway. B. When you're braking gently. C. When you're braking harshly. D. When you're braking on rural roads. The correct answer is C. Anti-lock brakes won't be needed when you're braking normally. Looking well down the road and anticipating possible hazards could prevent you from having to brake late and harshly. Knowing that you have anti-lock brakes isn't an excuse to drive in a careless or reckless way. Question 31 of 44. What does driving a vehicle with anti-lock brakes allow you to do? A. Pay less attention to the road ahead. B. Steer and brake harshly at the same time. C. Drive at higher speeds. D. Brake harder because it's impossible to skid. The correct answer is B. If the wheels of your vehicle lock, they won't grip the road and you'll lose steering control. In good conditions, the anti-lock braking system, ABS, will prevent the wheels from locking and you'll keep control of your steering. In poor weather conditions or on loose surfaces, the ABS may be less effective. Question 32 of 44. You're driving a vehicle that has anti-lock brakes. How should you apply the foot brake when you need to stop in an emergency? A. Slowly but firmly. B. Rapidly and gently. C. Rapidly and firmly. D. Slowly and gently. The correct answer is C. You may have to stop in an emergency due to a misjudgment by another driver or a hazard arising suddenly, such as a child running out into the road. If your vehicle has anti-lock brakes, you should apply the brakes immediately and keep them firmly applied until you stop. Question 33 of 44. What would suggest you're driving on ice? A. There's less transmission noise. B. There's less tire noise. C. There's less engine noise. D. There's less wind noise. The correct answer is B. Drive extremely carefully when the roads are icy. When traveling on ice, tires make virtually no noise and the steering feels light and unresponsive. In icy conditions, be very gentle when braking, accelerating and steering. Question 34 of 44. You're driving along a country road. You see this sign. What should you do after dealing safely with the hazard? A. Accelerate briskly. B. Check your tire pressures. C. Switch on your hazard warning lights. D. Test your brakes. The correct answer is D. If your brakes have been thoroughly soaked, you should check that they're working properly before you build up speed again. Before you do this, remember to check your mirrors and consider what's behind you. Question 35 of 44. In which conditions are your anti-lock brakes most unlikely to prevent skidding? A. On dry tarmac. B. At night on unlit roads. C. On loose road surfaces. D. In foggy conditions. The correct answer is C. Anti-lock brakes may be ineffective on gravel or loose surfaces. They may also be ineffective in very wet weather. When water can build up between the tire and the road surface, this is known as aquaplaning. Question 36 of 44. You're driving along a wet road. How can you tell if your vehicle's tires are losing their grip on the surface? A. The steering will feel very light. B. The engine will stall. C. The steering will feel very heavy. D. The engine noise will increase. The correct answer is A. If you drive at speed in very wet conditions, your steering may suddenly feel lighter than usual. This means that the tires have lifted off the surface of the road and are skating on the surface of the water. This is known as aquaplaning. Reduce speed but don't brake until your steering returns to normal. Question 37 of 44. In which conditions will your overall stopping distance increase? A. At night. B. In strong winds. C. In fog. D. In the rain. The correct answer is D. Extra care should be taken in wet weather. On wet roads, your stopping distance could be double that in dry conditions. Question 38 of 44. You're driving on an open road in dry weather. What should the distance be between you and the vehicle in front? A. 1 car length. B. A 2-second time gap. C. 2 car lengths. D. 2 meters 6 feet 6 inches. The correct answer is B. One way of checking there's a safe distance between you and a vehicle in front is to use the 2-second rule. To check for a 2-second time gap, choose a stationary object ahead, such as a bridge or road sign. When the car in front passes the object, say, only a fool breaks the 2-second rule. If you reach the object before you finish saying the phrase, you're too close and need to increase the gap. Question 39 of 44. How can you use your vehicle's engine as a brake? A. By selecting neutral gear. B. By selecting reverse gear. C. By changing to a higher gear. D. By changing to a lower gear. The correct answer is D. When driving on downhill stretches of road. Selecting a lower gear gives increased engine braking. This will prevent excessive use of the brakes, which become less effective if they overheat. Question 40 of 44. When are anti-lock brakes ABS most effective? A. When you brake promptly and firmly until you've stopped. B. When you keep pumping the foot brake to prevent skidding. C. When you brake normally but grip the steering wheel tightly. D. When you apply the handbrake to reduce the stopping distance. The correct answer is A. If you have ABS and need to stop in an emergency, keep your foot firmly on the brake pedal until the vehicle has stopped. When the ABS operates, you may hear a grating sound and feel vibration through the brake pedal. This is normal and you should maintain pressure on the brake pedal until the vehicle stops. Question 41 of 44. When will anti-lock brakes take effect? A. When you haven't seen a hazard ahead. B. When the wheels are about to lock. C. When you don't brake quickly enough. D. When you're speeding on a slippery road surface. The correct answer is B. If your car is fitted with anti-lock brakes, they'll only activate when they sense that the wheels are about to lock. By preventing the wheels from locking, you'll be able to steer to avoid the hazard, while maximum braking is also applied. Question 42 of 44. You're driving on a wet motorway with surface spray. What lights should you use? A. Dipped headlights. B. Side lights. C. Hazard warning lights. D. Rear fog lights. The correct answer is A. When surface spray reduces visibility, switch on your dipped headlights. This will help other road users to see you. Question 43 of 44. What can result when you travel for long distances in neutral, known as coasting? A. Easier steering. B. Reduction in control. C. Increased fuel consumption. D. Improvement in control. The correct answer is B. Coasting is the term used when the clutch is held down, or the gear lever is in neutral, and the vehicle is allowed to freewheel. This reduces the driver's control of the vehicle. When you coast, the engine can't drive the wheels to stabilize you through a corner, or give the assistance of engine braking to help slow the car. Question 44 of 44. What should you do when driving in fog? A. Position close to the center line. B. Use side lights only. C. Keep close to the car in front. D. Allow more time for your journey. The correct answer is D. Don't venture out if your journey isn't necessary. If you have to travel and someone is expecting you at the other end, let them know that you'll be taking longer than usual for your journey. This will stop them worrying if you don't turn up on time and will also take the pressure off you, so you don't feel you have to rush.